Hello and welcome to the Pod of the Damned. I'm your host Ian, and joining me this week's episode is my co-host Nico. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. How's your cat companion?
She's now wrapped round my arm like a
Is
glove,
with
like
with love or
uh,
like a glove?
like a glove.
Oh,
So
she
yeah,
really
she
is. That's
wrapped
so
around.
cute.
Yeah, like, that's what the clothes were. She was pulling my arm in. I was like, "What the fuck's she doing?" So yeah,
oh,
that's why.
how's your week been? Uh, we've it's been a while since it's just been the two of us.
I know it's weird.
I know. So, have you had a good week since our last recording? Anyway, since we last recorded our Pearl episode.
Yeah, I see Moxie again.
I've still not seen it.
Have you still not?
I've still not went to see it. So I should probably get on that.
I'll be interested to see what you think of
Yeah, I can't wait.
it. You sound
Listen,
like it.
honestly, listen. I'm not particularly excited to go and see this film anyway, and I've been hearing that it's like easily the worst of the three. So I'm really not like I'm going into it with like little expectation.
See, folk I've been speaking to, right, that have seen it, they've either liked X, they've liked Pearl, or they've liked Moxie. They've not liked all three.
Well, that kind of tracks though, right? I mean, you've liked both of them, right? But you liked X more.
I liked X more than Pearl, yeah.
I mean, I don't think either of them are either of them are bad films. I just think that neither of them are great films. I don't think
Uh,
Pearl maybe got the love that X got. X got like all the fucking love, and I do think
yeah,
that X is a better film, but I don't think Mia Goth is as good in X as she is in Pearl. Like, it's a bizarre sort of like whole scenario of stuff that's going on with those
yeah.
films. I am interested to see what Maxine is like, but I'm not expecting to like have a good time with it. Please tell me she doesn't shag any more scarecrows anyway.
No,
There's
but
no.
I think you'll be on the like Moxie one. I think, I think you won't be ecstatic about it, but I think you'll like it.
You
If I'm
think I
being
might be
honest,
slightly higher on it than some people have been?
I think you'll. It's, well, I don't think you're gonna love it, but I think you'll like it.
I might just have a bit of an appreciation for it.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, well, we'll wait and see. That's obviously an episode that's going to be coming up soon after I've gone and finally seen the film. But until then,
yeah.
this week on the show, it's time for another one of our top 5 episodes. It's the first one since we brought it back that you've been on, Nico, because me and Candy did the first two since we brought it back. We obviously did a top 10 episode way back in the early days of this podcast, which is still actually to this day one of our like more popular episodes. People love a list. People love a list, Nico.
Well, we were gonna bring this back, but we had
Yeah,
too much on our plate.
yeah, it was one of those things. Like we've been talking and talking and talking about bringing this series back for like a really long time because we obviously did it on the old show, and you were on quite a few of those ones for the old show as well, weren't you?
Yeah,
So it
I
has
seem to
been.
be the top five guy in the old show. Top five guy, and what was the other thing? Oh, non-horror movies. That
was
was
it
the
was
other
it
thing.
non-horror movies? Was it? Is that what
Yeah,
you
a lot of the
got?
non-horror ones. No, I got a lot of the horror ones, but
Yeah,
most of them were the non-horror.
yeah, you did do a lot of our non-horror stuff on the old show, but like, but now you're front and center of this one, and but you were back doing the top fives. So today,
Yeah,
obviously, and this is the third of the sort of series that we brought back. We did in the first one top 5 horror reboots or remakes. Last one we did most overrated horror movies, which was a little bit. I think that caused like a little bit of controversy with a couple of our picks. I know it definitely picked a little bit of controversy with
I fell
you.
at that.
You felt a little bit there, but today we're going complete opposite to that, and it's as voted by our viewers because we obviously put it out to our viewers. It's top 5 most underrated horror movies. So there's quite a few different ways in which you could like measure this because I feel like with the horror genre being the way it is and being seen how it's seen by like the wider film community, you could pretty much pick whatever the fuck you want in this and be like it's underrated by like the wider community, barring
Yeah,
maybe like one or two. I think you couldn't put like the fucking Exorcist in here, and you couldn't put fucking Jaws in here, and those kinds of films. But you could
I've
pretty
just
much,
changed my list 2 seconds ago.
yeah. But you could pretty much pick anything else, and your justification for it could be, well, if non-horror fans just think don't appreciate horror films, and it's kind of true, right?
Yeah, because like my list, there is a couple of famous movies in here, and it's because they're underrated from when I've been talking to people and stuff like that, and how they see it, and a lot of people have talked about it that way.
I mean, I think I've got a few. I wouldn't say I have like a triple A horror title on my list. I don't have like an. Or not. I'm not talking about like a Nightmare on Elm Street or a Halloween or a Thing or anything like that being on my list. Although the Thing definitely could have been one that could have been put in there back in the day.
The Thing was tempted. That's on my
Yeah.
honorary mentions.
Um, I've gone largely for some slightly more modern movies.
Okay.
Most of mine are from the 21st century. I have one from the 90s, and then everything else I've kind of just left alone. I think for that, I've obviously got some older ones in my honorable mentions as well. I do tend to think that we have a tendency, and this maybe can sort of link back to that sort of X discussion we have as well. We have a tendency to sort of hyper focus, I think, on like 2 or 3 movies, and they're like the best fucking thing since sliced bread, and everything else kind of just gets forgotten about. When in actual fact, in the past sort of 10 to 15 years, every year's had like some really fucking fantastic horror movies come out, and some of them and some of them, don't get me wrong, some of the ones that are on my list have gotten plenty of attention. I just think they're maybe better than the attention they got deserved. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. I very much doubt that we've got any the same. I genuinely have no idea what you're going to pick. Normally, especially like when we used to do these and we used to pick a various categories, we used to kind of be able to guess what each other would have like on our lists. And I don't think I could guess one that's on your list.
I'm the same. Like, I think my number one pick might be in your list.
You think your number one might be in my list? I think I've got a little bit left field with my list though. Because again, like this is I think this is possibly like the most difficult of these like categories to do. Because again, you could literally have an argument for 95% of horror films to be included on these lists. So this is really just sort of what we've decided to come up with in the moment. Anyways, with that being said, we should probably actually start going through our list. So we're going to do it from 5 to 1. Nico, you're going to go first, and then I will go with your number 5 pick, and then I will go with my number 5 pick, and we will alternate like that all the way down to our number 1s. We'll do some honourable mentions at the end, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about, what we've got coming up and stuff like that. Very, very quickly before we get into the lists, if you would like to support the show on our social media platforms, we're on X at Damn Podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Pod of the Damned. You can email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Pod of the Damned. Right, Nico, unless you want to do your socials.
No, I'm fine.
No, I didn't think so. Okay, right, would you like to kick us off then? What have you got in 5th place?
So this is probably going to surprise you because I know you like this. I've got Society in 5th place.
Ah, okay.
Because there's a lot of people that just are like, what was that shit? And the way they talk about it. And you're like, it's a fucking good movie. You know what I mean? Like, I know you like it and I like it, but there's so much folk I know that have just been like, why did you make me watch that?
It's funny. It's actually really funny. I did consider having this. I considered this movie full stop, and then I was going to put it in my honorable mentions, and then I kind of just sort of left it out. It's definitely one that I thought I'd consider being. I think the thing with Society is it gets remembered, doesn't it, for the shunt scene?
Yes.
And that scene is kind of iconic, and well, it is iconic, and I think it just kind of gets. I think though that scene kind of makes the movie like a little bit of a laughing stock. Like people laugh at the movie because of that scene, and in actual fact, what you've actually got is if you look at the whole thing as a whole, a relatively solid body horror invasion of the body snatchers style type horror movie. And it's pretty fucking cool. Like I think it's a great movie. I've got a denim jacket, the Denim Society jacket. I think I've shown it before on the podcast.
Yeah, you've shown it on the podcast. It's quite cool.
I think it's a great film. I think it's a great pick.
Because my number 5, it was a toss up between that and the faculty. Funny you should mention Body Snatcher.
Yeah.
Film. So that was what nearly made it for me.
Well, I mean, obviously, when I was like trying to like research it's difficult to research for an episode like this and try not to just like. I was trying to just sort of jog my memory and be like, right, I was going to go through like a list of movies and see if like something pops up that I've maybe been like forgetting about that deserves. Faculty did pop up as well for me, and I did sort of consider that. Again, it hasn't made my honorable mentions. I think Faculty maybe kind of just gets the love it deserves. But I think Society is a really good pick. I think that's pretty fucking solid.
Oh, thank you.
No, there you go. Like it's probably going to be one of the rare. We never agree on these things.
I get praise, yeah. You know, I never get praise for you for shit like that. So yeah, you feeling okay?
No, it's awful warm. It's been awful warm. We are going through a heat wave. It's probably fried my brain a little bit.
The time off has fried your brain.
The time off, yeah. I've not known what to do with myself. My brain's just decided to melt. It's just.
Go watch Maxine. That's what you need to go do.
Actually, I go watch Maxine. Okay, if I really have to.
Yeah, you have.
I think even like our regular listeners at this point are just fucking go and watch Maxine. Like they're probably sick fed up of listening to me shit all over this franchise.
I'm shitting all over it. You know you've seen it yet. Go take your missus. Go treat her.
I've seen
straight after this.
I've seen the first two. She doesn't do cinema. She ain't got the attention span for it.
That might be handy for you because you can watch it and do other things.
Wow, let's not go into too much detail about that on the podcast.
I'm being play cards or something.
Play cards. Okay, play cards. Yeah. Okay, play cards in the dark movie theater. Okay.
That yeah.
I'm getting the weirdest.
Are you getting side eye?
I'm getting criminal offensive side eye. Yeah.
She can't even hear me. That's the best.
No, she can't hear you. She can hear me though.
She can hear your bit about the cinema. She's got no clue what's going on.
Anywho, right, the listeners don't want to hear us talk about this for 11 minutes.
Oh yeah, totally. That's great.
So Society is your number 5 pick. Pretty solid, I would say. A pretty solid start. Makes me feel very confident about the rest of your list, Nico.
Oh, don't be.
Oh. Why is that?
Because it's me. I always have something weird in there.
Yeah, you're gonna have something. You're gonna have like the most popular fucking horror film of all time on there, or something. You're gonna have like Silence of the fucking Lambs on your list or something.
So number 4 is Aliens.
Anyways, my number 5 pick, and I think this is a movie that often gets it's a British film. It often gets confused though with an American film. I think it's an American film that's got the same name as it, and it's an American found footage film. The movie is called, but there's a British version. They're completely different storylines. They're not related in any way, shape, or form. There's a British movie from 2004 called Creep, which is set in the London Underground. I'm not sure if you've actually seen this one.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it not like a dame goes into the underground?
Yeah. So essentially, this woman's at a party. She leaves the party because I think it's George Clooney. She thinks she's managed to like get herself an invitation to go and meet. But she falls asleep in the London Underground, and she gets left in the London Underground, and it turns out there's just like a guy down there who's like deformed and is murdering everyone.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple premise of a film. But you know what?
I've only seen that once.
I think it's
so I barely remember it.
I think it's a pretty solid fucking film. It's got a pretty solid cast. It's pretty tense. There's some pretty cool kills in there. You've got like there's a few scenes that are like, you know, kind of not cringe-worthy. What's the word when you're like, you know, you get sort of like, ooh, you can
like, make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's a few uncomfortable scenes. I can't. There's a word I'm looking for that I can't currently think of, but you know, I just think overall, like, you know, one when I'm sort of thinking about like underrated horror movies, and I know there are people out there who'll be listening to this who have absolutely seen this film. I've seen it quite a few times now, and I think if you look at the rest of my list are all pretty well-known horror films.
Yeah.
I wanted to chuck something in there that was maybe like a lot less well-known, and I think this maybe sort of qualifies. Sorry for that. It's something that a lot of people maybe either haven't seen, they've maybe seen like the US version. A lot of people might even know this exists. I've talked about this a few times on our social media platforms over the past number of years, and usually when I bring it up, yeah, you'll get a couple of people be like, "Oh yeah, that's really fucking good," and then you'll get a couple of people going like, "Oh wait, that's not like the American found footage one that comes out," and which is then that one has got sequels, and I think there's another one of that one coming out as well. So yeah, I think this is a movie that everyone should go and see. Listen, this is not a movie that's it's gonna change your opinion on horror films. It's not a genre defining movie, but I think it's a pretty
Yeah.
cool little flick. It's pretty tight if I remember. I think it's only like 86 minutes or something like that. It's a pretty tight little film. It's got some good jump scares. It's got a half decent villain, some really uncomfortable moments. It's quite tense. It's quite claustrophobic. Definitely one I think people should go and check out.
I'm pretty sure we were actually going to do it on the old one,
I
but
think
that's when
so.
it got canned.
I think so. I think I vaguely remember us talking about that. We're gonna do this one, and it's definitely one that I think I would like to cover on this on the show at some point in the not too distant future. I think it's one that maybe deserves like that little bit of light shined upon it, because when I look at like a lot of the sort of horror podcasts and that I listen to, and I sort of look at their episodes and their subject topics, very very few that I can find have covered this movie as well. So I think it's definitely one I think just deserves maybe that little bit of attention.
Yeah, because I remember you talking about it before, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And then the more you were talking about it, the more I was like, "I've seen this." And
Yeah,
then we started talking about it, you know, and
I would
I'm pretty
definitely
sure it was when we started this one.
I would definitely recommend that you go and revisit it if you
Yeah.
if you were thinking about it.
You said it then as well, and I'm like, I'll keep it fresh for when
Yeah,
I watch it next time, you
I
know?
think I think it's definitely something that I'm maybe going to pick, and maybe not like in the next sort of couple of months, but I think maybe towards the end of the year or start of next year, something that we can maybe look at covering.
Cool.
Okay, so that's my number five pick. My number five pick is Creep. Nico, you want to go ahead and tell everyone what you've got at number four?
So, Eli Roth, you love him or hate him, but the one that I always think is underrated, and I'm guessing you're gonna know what this is. Cabin Fever.
Oh, that's not what I was hoping you were going to say there.
What were you thinking?
I thought you were going to say Hostel.
See, Hostel's not bad, but it gets a lot of love from folk.
Do
And
you
I mean a
think?
lot of love
Do
from
you
folk.
think it
Eh,
does?
There's so much people I know that just love that.
But
I think it's an age thing
I
though.
think conversely though, there's so many people that I know that just immediately dismiss it as like this sort of torture porn film. Like it's
Yeah.
just this big gore fest, and like I actually think it's his one of his best movies. I think it's a great film.
I prefer the second one to the first one,
The
but
second one,
it's not what
I
we're
do
talking
I
about.
do absolutely fuck with the second one as well. The second one's a really good film.
Yeah.
Third one can suck a dick. Third one's absolute
Yeah.
trash.
Third one is like, what the fuck is this shit I'm
Oh
watching?
yeah, but
That is that movie where you're like, what the fuck?
yeah.
But
Anyways,
no,
but
it's
we're yep.
Cabin Fever.
It's Cabin Fever. Okay, why Cabin
Yeah,
Fever then?
because I thought it was like it's a great premise. It's all right for just a one-off watch, or even if you just watch it a couple of times, you know.
Mm.
It's it's got decent stories, like that bit you said about the whole cringe thing, you know. That
I know
whole
exactly what you're going to say.
yeah, that whole bit where they're away to have sex, and you're just like, because it's a flesh-eating virus. It is just
Yeah, or
it
this,
it
or the scene where is it the woman who's like shaving her legs, but she's just like shaving over the wounds. That
uh
that bit like gets me like every time, like that gets me.
yeah.
That does get me.
And I also love the fact that the guy that drinks beer the whole time at the end gets fucking killed, even though he's not got it,
Yeah.
because the virus comes from the water, you know.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Oh, this whole weekend, you know, the dickhead of the group. Yeah, I'm gonna drink beer the whole weekend. Fucking man, cool." The complete arsehole that every group has got. And if you don't know that arsehole, you are that arsehole. Uh,
Who's the arsehole, Nico?
basically,
Do you know it? Do you know that arsehole? You definitely
I know plenty of that
don't. Yes,
arsehole.
it's not. It's not you.
Not normally, no. Like I'm close, but I'm not always it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
A couple of groups I am, but
Aye.
they deserve it. So that arsehole survives to the end, and the townsfolk shoot him in the dome, which is fucking brilliant, I think.
I think for me, when it comes to Cabin Fever, right, and you're right, it definitely has those like moments where you're just like really uncomfortable. It shows things on screen, it's definitely got those couple of sort of holy shit moments. I think my issue with Cabin Fever is it's I don't think predictable's the word, but it's so like horror trope heavy. Like
Yeah,
it's really like if you're a person who has been really into your horror films and you know what horror films are all about and you're aware of various horror tropes, Cabin Fever just like it's like ticking them off the fucking list, isn't it? As you go,
yeah,
it's like trope bingo watching Cabin Fever. That's not to say that I don't think Cabin Fever is a good film. I do think Cabin Fever is a good film, and like I say, I think it's got some very uncomfortable moments on it, like we've kind of discussed there. But it is like it's a teen horror film, but it
yeah,
obviously pushes that boundaries with what it shows you because it's all fucking up until like shit really starts to hit the fan. It's all like tits and ass, isn't it?
yeah. It's like a it's like a gateway horror one. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
like weed of horror films.
Yeah, I think so, but it does for what I would normally consider to be like a gateway horror. It shows like it is very gory. It shows a lot of really uncomfortable stuff for what I would call a gateway horror. So I would think me, excuse me, I think it would maybe go just like a step beyond that.
So you're thinking like ecstasy style. So this is like the ecstasy of
Ca-
horror, then.
Cabin Fever,
Like next level up, you know?
Cabin Fever is the
Cut
Eckies of
fever.
horror.
Exactly.
I,
Your first experience of a swinging jaw, you know what I mean?
I mean, I think that would possibly help like get you through if you had to live it in real life.
Fuck yeah. Oh Jesus, could you imagine flesh eating virus whilst you're on Eckies?
You'd probably try and just chat to it, wouldn't you?
You'd be like, "Hello, I've got to speak to my in lip." Right,
Speak to your in lip, aye, because it's on the fleer.
hi. Oh,
Okay. Okay. So
that's gonna be on the fucking thingy, is it? Promo.
is that the promo for the
Chat to
episode?
your in lip because it's on a fleer.
Oh dear. Wow. Okay. So Cabin Fever is your number 4 pick.
Yeah, the Echo of Horrors is number 4.
The
Oh,
ecstasy of horror.
I'm not saying like your Mitsubishis, but like your beginners, you know, you're like disco biscuits.
Oh, your disco biscuits of horror.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Fucking hell.
Well, on that note, let's move on to what I've got in 4th place. So I've got my 4th place film is a horror film that I think is very well known. This is possibly the sort of most well known horror film that I've got on my list. We've covered it on the show before, but I think this one is still super underrated. I think I think the core of the people out there really do appreciate this movie for what it is, but the way I think this is underrated is I think when you're talking about horror films and you're talking about things that are really atmospheric, have got really good jump scares, have really good cast, you know, are really tense. This is one that kind of never really gets talked about when you're talking about all those things. So my number 4 pick is The Autopsy of Jane Doe,
Ooh, nice.
because I just genuinely think that I genuinely believe that that is a fucking great horror film. Like I love that film, and I just genuinely don't think it is as widely loved as it should be. I think that really should be considered, because this is from 2016, should be considered as one of the best horror movies from the past decade. It doesn't
Agreed, I love it.
it doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of, you know, showing us anything new, which maybe is
Mm.
what has sort of held it back. It hasn't tried to like really show us something, but I just think it plays with tension so much. Brian Cox is always fucking great to have on screen. Like he really chews the fucking scenery in his film. And again, there's so many moments in this film that are really uncomfortable. You know, like that scene where all the injuries of the witch is just see Shira's paw coming up the bottom of your camera.
That's what I was laughing at. Yeah,
Like that scene though, where all the injuries that the witch has transfers over to Brian Cox's body, and you can see like his ankles snapping and his joints dislocating.
yeah.
And it's just really uncomfortable. And there's a couple of
Brutal, is it?
there's some really fucking brutal moments, but there's some equally like for those people who do prefer like a jump scare heavy horror. There's well sort of crafted jump scares in there as well, and like a whole load of different stuff too. The effects are great. The fact that Jane Doe is an actress who is just laid there for the entire filming.
Yeah.
It's not a prosthetic. It's an actual woman who got like just laid there for days and days and days and days and days upon end while they filmed that movie. Is incredible. Like that
Yeah.
actually, and that actually must have been so incredibly difficult to do.
Yeah. And the theories around the movie as well, there's not just one theory with the movie. Like folk think that the witch, that's the body, didn't actually affect anyone. It's all just like, they did all the murders and everything.
Yeah.
They killed themselves and all that. There's heaps of theories with it as well. And I always like a good theory in a horror film where it's more than one way it could have been.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely are. I wonder. You kind of like to know all the different ways in which something's interpreted or how
Yeah.
it's seen. That's very much your sort of vibe, and I think this is definitely a movie that sort of scratches that itch for you a little bit.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's one of those ones I would have liked to have seen either a prequel or a sequel to it. You know what I mean?
I vaguely remember. I think we did talk about that when we covered it on the show. Because I don't think I would. I think I like this is a great just like standalone horror film. I think like as it is absolutely perfect. I don't think I would like to see something before or after this. I think this is just great the way it is.
Oh no,
Um,
I do like it that way as well, but I think for me personally, it would just give it that extra layer that I was looking for. You
yeah,
know,
but you always want an act. You always want like a prequel or a sequel to fucking
if it,
everything.
I I want that when it's really good and it does throw it open, when it is open,
Yeah.
because it starts with whatever happened at the last place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could easily have a prequel,
Oh
and
yeah,
then it
like
ends
it's not like the story is completely closed off to that happening. The story is
exactly.
very much it has the ability to do that. I just don't think they should. And I also
Uh,
I don't think this film made like a lot of money. I don't think this film like
yeah,
was particularly well received. So I don't think there was ever really any talks of that happening. So I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
yeah.
And I do
I
think
heard there was a remake possibly happening. So
I mean, I don't see like thing is with like a remake, and as you well know, I'm very much the give remakes a chance person. I don't really
and
see,
I'm not
and you're not, but I don't really see what they're gonna remake from this without it being like essentially
the exact same
the
thing. Yeah,
exact same thing. Like I can't see how they would change up. I mean, maybe that's just me and my lack of imagination. But like
yeah.
sometimes you get a remake and you think, okay, like it's nice to see this rebooted. It's nice to see like a different interpretation of this. I don't see how you can remake the autopsy of Jane Doe without them just doing an autopsy on like a witch skeleton, like body, and
Well,
then where do you go from there that makes it that wildly different from the original film? You know what I mean? I think we've lost Nico. He's gone. He's gone forever, guys. Oh well. Is he back?
you froze there for a second.
Ah, it weren't fucking me that froze. Anyway, so
Oh, was it me?
the autopsy of Jane Doe is my number 4 pick.
Aye. So as I was got interrupted there with the thing, it was the autopsy of John Doe was what they were going to call it.
Oh,
So that was the remake part of it. They were going to make it male.
but then
Is what I
would
heard.
that not just be like? I don't see why you would then brand that as a remake. Why wouldn't you just brand that as like a movie from the same franchise? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I don't see why you would brand that as a remake. You could just brand it as this is a movie in the same universe,
Aye.
which is what I think they should have do if that was to happen.
Exactly.
Anyways, right, that is my number 4. So top 3 time, Nico. What you got in third place?
So third is a movie that you actually introduced me to that I think is very, very underrated.
Is it
And that was
Terrifier?
You had to, did you? You really had to.
Don't, because the temptation for me to put that on my list was pretty fucking high. But I didn't. I
Well, that's
didn't.
definitely not fucking underrated, is it?
Anyway, carry
It's
on.
overrated, if anything. So yeah, it was a movie that you introduced me to that I hadn't heard of, and I thought was absolutely brilliant when I actually watched it, and that was Splinter.
Ah,
Because
okay.
even now, folks still don't know about it.
So Splinter was again a movie that I'd come across when I was going through all my lists, and I did consider it for my list as well. It's again not on my list.
Uh,
We covered it. We covered that way back pretty early days, I think, on this
yeah.
podcast. Um, and I think it was my choice because that's where you got introduced to it, I believe, right?
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard of it.
Um, yeah, like I think that's a wildly underrated film. I think it's got like this really unique premise
Yeah,
that we don't really see, but it's also got this like really good like body horror elements. Again, it's got those like uncomfortable scenes that really make you sort of cringe and feel it, like, you know, when he cuts off his own arm with the box cutter.
yeah.
And it's got a pretty solid cast in there as well. Like, you know, there's the casting in there's pretty good. The acting's pretty good. I think that's a pretty fucking solid choice.
Thank you.
This
But
is
yeah, it's one of those ones where, like, I hadn't heard of it. That's how underrated this is, you know what I mean? And I normally like ones like this where it's like the body horror and stuff. Like everything you were telling me about, I'm like, how have I not heard about this?
yeah.
And I'm now doing that to other people because I liked it that much.
I can't remember how I came across it the first time. I think I came across it. It might have been just like back in the day, you know, when you used to scroll through like Sky Cinema for like a movie to
Uh,
rent back in the day before like the dawn of sort of Netflix and Amazon and all of those things. So you'd have to go through like Sky Cinema, or you rent it, like, you know, that sort of thing to rent your movies. And I think it might have been something to do with that, and I think that's maybe how I saw it for the first time.
because
Um,
it did used to do like new release freebie ones.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
So it might be one of those things, you know?
I think it was maybe something like that that I'd seen it, you know. But you know, Sky Cinema as a child, fucking don't tell Rishi Sunak. That might be a bit more popular
Uh,
than.
you weren't poor then, were you?
I wasn't poor as a child. I had Sky for a bit.
Yeah, fucking mental.
But no, no. I think Splinters. This is we need to get out of this habit, Nico, because we're praising each other's choices, and
I know
like
it's like, come on, fuck it up.
this
Go on,
is
next one.
this is not why people come to listen to us talk about horror movies. They come to hear us
This
almost
this is going to be the worst ever top five because we agree on all of
because
them.
we agree on all of them. Well, there's still time. We're officially halfway. 5 of the 10 picks have
Yeah.
been revealed. So with that being said, I'll go on to my number 3 pick. And I don't think the disagreement is going to end here, Nico, because my number 3 pick is also from 2016. I just clearly think that was a really underrated year. But it is from one of your favorite directors, one of your favorite modern horror directors. It's a Mike Flanagan movie. And so I think Hush is a
Oh,
really fucking underrated horror movie. Now we've had very at length discussions about Mike Flanagan and the films that he makes,
yep.
and you know, I would just like to set the record straight here, right? At
Yeah.
no point have I ever said that Mike Flanagan is a bad director. At no point,
You just don't like
no,
it.
at no point did I ever say that Doctor Sleep is a bad movie. At no point do I think that I also sorry
Hold on. 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Public service announcement incoming.
I also agree that for Stephen King properties, he is probably the safest set of hands there is going in horror right now, because I don't think anyone else would give them the treatment that he would give them in terms of that sort of dedication to them.
Is the heat actually getting to you? Because you're saying this is just not
This
sounding like
no no
you.
no no. See, the thing is, Nico, right? This is all stuff that I've said multiple times before, but you and your fucking narrative just will not let that be what people think I say about this shit. So
Well,
before Doctor Sleep and before before everything else, before Midnight Mass and everything else that he was really fucking successful with, um, he obviously released this movie called Hush, and I think this has a really fucking cool little fucking film. It
I've
remind
never heard of it. No, I've never heard of
Shut
it.
the fuck up, Nico. Uh, it rem
Sorry, I
it
couldn't resist.
so it reminds me a lot of the movie The Strangers, in that
Yeah,
sort of cabin, like sort of isolated. There's someone watching you from outside, but obviously it has that sensory play as well. The woman's deaf. Um, But I think when you're talking about Mike Flanagan films, like this just does get overlooked, and people will automatically go
well,
to.
forget about
We'll
it.
forget about it and
And
talk about.
folk don't even know it's him.
No, that's what I'm saying, and people will automatically talk about Doctor Sleep and some of the TV shows that he's taken out, and
Yeah,
some of the other things that he's done. And I think Hush does get forgotten about, and I actually think it's probably one of his better movies, one of his better works. And I
yeah,
think it's really creepy, for people who like their villains to have masks. It's got a nice creepy mask. Although I think if I remember correctly, like one criticism I have of it is that I think the reveal of the villain happened a little too quickly in the movie. I think that happened like at like the halfway stage, when he took like the mask off. And I think that should have been
yeah.
saved for a bit later. But I mean, like that's a minor criticism. Everything else in that movie is really fucking creepy and really well done and really atmospheric. And yeah, I genuinely think it's one of Mike Flanagan's best works.
Yeah, I think so. It's funny because I wasn't considering it for this list. But remember, you were asking for my next three movies.
Oh, was you gonna put it on for your next one of your next three?
Yeah. So it's really weird you picking that
Uh,
because we were almost covering it. We were very because I gave you that list. What was it? Not yesterday, the day before, was it not?
Yesterday. It was
Was it a couple
yesterday.
of
Yeah,
days ago? Was it yesterday?
it
Was
was
it?
yesterday. Yeah.
So yeah, it was very close to doing that without even looking at the like any of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. This is
So
we've done two-thirds of the list now. We need to stop sucking each other's dicks. And
yeah, it's quite weird
and,
though that that was one of the
and
ones I'd never even thought of it.
I'm not a big fan of this, Nico.
Yeah, this is a bit weird.
uh,
So this episode isn't actually underrated. It's now called the Love
this
Fest.
is just the love show. Welcome to Potlight. Welcome to Love of the Damned.
I don't think it's going to change either because I know you love this next movie that I've picked.
I mean, I know you love. I know you. I think you like. We'll see. Anyway, go for it. Number 2 on your list.
So number two and number one, I know you love both those movies,
Uh
right?
huh.
That I've picked. So number two is The Crazies.
The remake. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because well, Oliphant is just fucking brilliant, and it is one of the best remakes I think, and everything about it is superb.
Mm-hmm.
But people genuinely, when you talk about this, have no idea about it at all.
No, it's one of those ones that just got fell like completely by the wayside. And you're
Yeah,
right. I also think that this is actually one of the best remakes out there. This did make my list when we did the remakes episode. This did make my list. I think I put this in fifth.
yeah,
And for my top 5 horror remakes. So I absolutely have no issues with you putting it here on this list because I do think it's a wildly underrated film. I think one of the things as well is that it really does take. It's one of those things people always say, why are we remaking horror films? Why aren't we coming up with original ideas? And I think the problem that a lot of people have is that a lot of remakes are of properties that were already really popular and already done really well, whereas the original
yeah,
Crazies from 1973 is possibly one of Romero's worst films. Like, it's really not a good film. Like, The Crazies is
yeah.
not a good film. It's a mess. It's definitely not ever going to be remembered as like a classic from George Romero, who is like one of the most iconic, popular, greatest horror directors of all time.
Exactly.
So they really took this property, which does have a really again, almost like this sort of body snatcher style, but then it's sort of like is it a virus in the film? I can't remember how it has been a hot minute since I watched it. But it has this like really interesting premise, and again, you know, it's got a decent cast in there. Oliphant's always usually pretty good. I think Nico's frozen again because it looks like he's asleep, and I'm pretty sure he was just blinking.
Yeah, I think it's a virus, is it not?
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it was a
Yeah,
virus.
that,
Yeah.
that was just. Did you not hear me?
No, no, you froze again,
Yeah, it was a
Nico.
virus, was it not?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was a
Oh,
virus.
sorry.
Um,
I could hear you all the way through that, and then
could
when you
you?
went, I think it's a virus, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, and I'm like
Yeah,
talking it.
you were just there. You looked like you were sleeping.
Sorry,
Sorry,
it's my narcolepsy kicking in again.
sorry, to fucking bore you. Um. Anyways,
It's the
yeah.
cat put me to sleep, Burren.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So yeah, I think it definitely deserves a place on your list. Why do you think then?
Genuinely, because like uh, as you were saying there, this is a great remake because it's something that wasn't that good a film, but they made it so much better in every way, shape, and form. I think,
Hmm.
and when you talk about it, it's on this list because genuinely people have no idea about it at all. You talk about it and they're like, what are you on about? Is it not just a zombie movie? And I'm like, no. So it's that whole premise as well, you know.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. So that's your number two pick. In
Yeah.
second place for me, again, is a movie from the same era. So this one's from 2015. Um, and again, this is one that has gotten a lot of love, but I don't think. Number one, I think a lot of people just don't necessarily consider it as a horror film. I think a lot of people go for that whole, oh, well, it's like a thriller style film, but which obviously means it's still fucking a horror film, but never mind.
Yeah.
So it's The Invitation from 2015. Um, and for anyone who is unaware of this movie, our main character Will gets an invitation to this dinner hosted by his ex-wife, and it turns out that
Oh.
they've become part of a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have this like really fucking long period of this movie where everything is just so uncomfortable. And I think this movie has an absolutely incredible performance from John Carroll Lynch. If people don't know who John Carroll Lynch is, he was Twisted the Clown in American Horror Story. I think he also played John Wayne Gacy in American Horror Story as well. And he does this role really, he does this really fucking well, where he plays this like quiet man kind of role, but like quiet man that's gonna fucking shit up when the time comes.
Yeah.
And I think he does that so incredibly well, and I think he actually delivers a really fucking powerful performance in this film. And I think if anyone else in that sort of role or as that sort of antagonist in the film wouldn't have come like where the film wouldn't have been anywhere near as much. I think he delivers an incredible performance. And then again, you have this really like bleak ending as well. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. But you have this ending where they think they've managed to like survive the house, and they think, oh well, okay, so that's it, we've survived. And then one of the things they get that the cults do is to put like red lights on their back gardens or in their porches or whatever, and you just see them looking out onto the hill, and there's all these like red lights. So it has this like really fucking bleak ending. I think it's a fucking great film. I think the performances in it, and again, it's one of those really sort of tense, uncomfortable, atmospheric style movies that I think tends to get overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great movie, but when you said The Invitation, I forgot that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Because there was another movie I watched recently. It was like a vampire movie
There's a couple of movies with the same
where
name.
she gets an invitation.
There is a couple of movies with the same
and
name.
I watched that recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the girl from Game of Thrones. I've forgotten her name.
Uh-huh.
She's in that. It's a weird movie. Like, the girl gets an invitation because she's done a DNA match and comes to the UK. And it's like the family. It's like Dracula's bride killed herself, and she's like the descendant of Dracula's bride.
Yeah.
You find out that she's going to be the bride of Dracula. It's a weird movie as well. That's why when you were saying that, I'm like, that's one I watched recently, yeah. And then you started saying other stuff, and I'm like, I know that movie too.
Yeah, just you, Nico, to listen to my pick about Invitation, and then tell us all about the movie Invitation. That's not the movie I picked.
No, but I'm just meaning, like, my mind went straight there. But like, it wasn't until about about halfway through your one where it was like the ex-husband bit when you mentioned that bit. That's when I realised it was the other
But
movie.
then does that not maybe tell you as well that it is underrated because it's not even considered like first thought in your head when you're talking about other
Aye.
movies that's called The Invitation? When I think it's probably the best fucking movie that's called The Invitation.
Oh no, don't get
Go
me
go
wrong.
wider than
It's
that,
still
you
better
know.
than that one.
So
It's don't get me wrong. It is better than that, but I forgot the name was Invitation.
so yeah, that's my number two pick
But yeah,
anyway.
great. That is a great pick, by the way.
Yeah,
That is a cracking movie.
I know. I tell you, I've got a good fucking list here.
Yeah. It's just my brain got confused. That's all.
Well, that's very easily done.
Fuck you.
Anyways,
Right.
we're down to it already. Firing through this. It's time for our number ones, Nico. So why don't you
So
tell everyone what you
I
think is the most underrated horror film?
I know you love this movie, and I think it's underrated because same thing. You talk to people and they've got no clue about this movie at all,
Okay.
and uh, I genuinely think it is one of Wes Craven's best movies.
Ah, okay. Oh, I didn't even think about this, and I should have. This absolutely should be like in there.
So you tell me what my number one is.
Is your number one The People Under the Stairs?
It is The People
I
Under the Stairs bit.
fucking love this movie so fucking much. And you're right. When people talk about Wes Craven fucking films, this movie is never ever fucking talked about. And it's
Yeah,
fucking great.
yeah. It's the whole every. Well, we've covered this, and everything about it is just amazing.
We haven't covered it for this show.
That is very true, and that is needing to be rectified, I think. But yeah, it is. It's just such a great movie. It's everything about it is just epic, and it's so like it's comedy, horror in perfect balance. I think because
hmm
it's got a lot of comedy things in it, and it's got a heap of horror things. There's jump scares. There's everything you want in this. It has the best villains. It has people you want to root for. It has everything, and if you don't like this movie, there's something wrong with you.
I genuinely think that is a statement that it's a statement that I genuinely don't agree with. I genuinely think that if you can't find something to like about The People Under the Stairs, there is something wrong with you because it
Yeah,
has a little bit of fucking everything. It's you know it's got that sort of even though it's from 1991, it's still very
90,
it's
yeah,
from 1991. It still has that very 80s aesthetic to it. You know,
yeah,
you've got like really likable characters in here. Who doesn't like fucking Fool and Ving Rhames and everyone else who's in this film? It's got fucking batshit insane villains. I mean, one of them's literally
yeah,
running around the fucking house in a gimp suit and
yeah,
with a fucking
with a fucking
shotgun.
shotgun.
And it's and it's multifaceted as well because you know original like in the initial part you think the people under the stairs are the villains and like there's just there's so much actually to get involved in this film and I remember watching this film and being kind of terrified of this film a little bit when I was growing up because you know this
Yep,
came out I was born in 1991 so when I was like 6 7 years old this is a film that I would see out and about, and that was quite something to watch when I was that sort of age. But I definitely remember watching this through like my entire childhood, and I really fucking love this film. We definitely need to rectify getting this film watched shortly. But yeah,
yeah,
you're right. You know, when
yeah,
people talk about Wes Craven films as well, and you're rightfully so. You know, things like Nightmare on Elm Street will always get brought up. Scream will always get brought up. But you know, People Under the Stairs were very rarely will. There was talks that they were going to do a remake of this one as well. And I
yeah.
think the last I heard something was 2020, 2021. Apparently
Well,
Jordan
I heard recently. I heard more than that. Yeah,
apparently Jordan Peele at that point had signed on to produce a remake, but nothing has ever really sort of come from it. So whether or not that is still something that's maybe in the pipe works for a few years down the line, I don't know if
cool.
they've maybe hit some sort of legal issues with the Craven estate. I don't know, but apparently Craven just before he was dying as well, just before he died, was planning on doing like a TV series for this.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's what I was going to say. That's the remake. That was the most recent one that I heard was it was going to be in a TV show.
Yeah, so there's been talks and rumors that it's going to happen. I think it will happen at some point. And I think it's,
Yeah,
and again, this is maybe one that I would quite like to see, something rebooted of it. I don't think I would ever like something like a reboot of this as much as I'd like the original, but if for nothing else, just to remind people that the original exists, I think, I think I would quite like to see something happen with this, whether that's a TV show, whether that's another film, because
And
it has felt like this movie's just sort of been left to disappear into the sands of time.
the thing about it is, I recently found out as well that it was actually based on a real story, yeah,
Yeah, well,
from like the 70s.
loosely,
Loosely,
I think
but
loosely we should say.
uh, but it's fucking mental, like,
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a great fucking pick, and I think that's a pretty solid fucking list. So Nico, do you want to just remind everyone of your top five then?
oh, I thought we were gonna go at your number one
We
first.
will, but we'll just run through your top. Your top five is now complete, so let's run through your top five.
Okay, so at number five it was Society.
Mm-hmm.
Number four was Cabin Fever. Number three was Splinter. Not to be confused with the Turtles there, by the way. Number two, The Crazies. And number one, The People Under the Stairs.
Nice. I think that's a pretty solid fucking list. And I think if you were to do like a movie marathon in an afternoon, those five movies are pretty that's a pretty fucking solid afternoon.
Aye, 100%.
There's not one movie on there. The only one I think of yours that I would maybe swap out is Cabin Fever. I think that's
You would have probably put faculty. Like, I was tossing it and turning with those two.
that's probably like no, I'd put Hostel.
Oh, okay.
I'd put Hostel in there
Yeah,
instead.
I genuinely think Hostel gets like you got to remember the age group that I hung about with. Everyone my age group loves Hostel.
Yeah, and I get that, but again, it is one of those things where you can literally just take any horror film and be like, well, the wider movie community doesn't like horror, so they're all underrated.
Yeah.
So, anyways, with that being said, time for then my number one, and again, my number one is a movie that we've done on the podcast before. This is, if you are a regular listener to this show, you will know that I think this is a vastly underrated film. A film that really didn't get the fucking love by the critics that it deserves. It's the only one of my films that isn't from the 21st century. This one's from 1997. And it... Oh, what's my number one, Nico?
No, it doesn't matter because I was going to take the piss.
Oh.
I was going to say, is this Child's Play remake? No,
Oh, go fuck yourself. No, my number one pick is Event Horizon.
That's not surprising.
No, see, I didn't think that would be surprising. Oh, are you disagreeing with it?
No, I agree with your choice. I love that movie.
Oh,
you know that.
I know.
I'm just. It's the whole like I knew it would be on here. Then I had a funny feeling it would be your number one.
I think the thing is like Event Horizon is a fucking great sci-fi horror film, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely crap. It has an absolute all-star cast. You know, when you've got Lawrence Fishburne in there, Sam Neill's in there, Sean Pertwee's in there, you've got Jason Isaacs in there. Like, it is an incredible cast of characters that like, it's so well done. The effects in it are fantastic. It's fucking Hellraiser in space.
Yeah.
You know, people joke about Hellraiser in space and things like, Jason and Freddy in space and, those sorts of things. But this is like a Hellraiser in space movie done just as it should be done. Great effects, great premise, great acting, great scares, iconic fucking lines. That scene where, he turns around and he has no eyes and he's like, where we're going, we don't need eyes. And like, it's so fucking cool. It's such a cool fucking film.
Yeah. I've never met anyone that hasn't liked that movie. That's why it didn't make my list.
But you say that, but this Event Horizon was absolutely panned by critics.
I know.
And even to this day, if you look, so like we obviously covered it on the show quite a while ago. Metacritic has Event Horizon at 3.5 out of 10. The Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at 33%. It's got a higher audience score, but the critics absolutely panned this movie, and I've no fucking idea why.
It's probably because it was a horror in space. Like, it's the two genres that critics hated back then.
It's just ridiculous, though. It's like, what a ridiculous I don't. I can't get on board with that. I can't understand why anyone would have that sort of opinion about this film. Like, it just has all the elements. It's got twists. It's got surprise
Yeah.
deaths. It's got, fake outs. The effects in it are incredible. And it's also got that, like, little bit of mystery in it as well, because we know fine well that there's a ton of lost footage out there from this film.
Yeah.
Of that really, like, we get, like, the briefest sort of images of this whole sort of blood, death, fucking pain orgy thing that's going on in this film. And we know fine well that there was actual footage of that shot, but it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And like I would love to see that footage.
Same. So yeah, this has really genuinely been a love fest. I can't find anything wrong with your list either, because that is a cracking number one. But the only disappointing thing is, I had a funny feeling that would be your number one.
Listen, I mean, if it's I've banged on about it enough. I maybe don't bang on about Event Horizon as much as I bang on about some other things. But
that's why I was going to take the piss out of the child.
But I do bang on about it quite a lot. Listen, it's a great fucking film, and I highly recommend anyone who's out there who hasn't seen it. I think it gets a little bit more love now than it has done. I think it is something that is growing in the appreciation of the film. But
Yeah.
I think it should be like considered up there for me with like not like a top 10 horror film. Like, again, it's not up there with your Alien and Jaws and Exorcists and those kinds of films. But I think this is easily like a top 30 horror movie, like, sort of thing. I think it's in that.
I'd put it top 20. Like,
I think it's in that
top there. Like.
I think it's in that sort of level of conversation. I think it should be, and movies that I think are in that sort of tier are things like Your Child's Play's original, Hellraisers, and stuff like that. Stuff that's maybe just not quite like top tier, but is very fucking close. And I think Event Horizon definitely deserves to be there, and it's just not considered that at all.
And the thing is, like, there's so many directors and stuff been influenced by that movie as well. Because in interviews, folk have said, and I can't mind only off the top of my head, but it's weird how back then folk used to always say they liked it, and it was directors that were saying it. So it's maybe because it's a director's movie that the critics didn't like it, because a lot of directors' movies critics hate.
I would hate to see a movie directed by me and you, Nico.
Yeah, true.
Oh, could you imagine if someone just let us loose on the set with the reins on a set of a horror film?
As long as I get to do the sex scenes, you're fine.
You want to do the sex scenes? Okay. What a fucking surprise.
And I also want to do the fucking murders too.
Oh, so you want the sex and the kills. So what do I get?
Yeah.
The fucking dialogue.
You get everything in between.
I get everything. I get all the fucking filler scenes.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh.
In the build-up scenes, because you're good at build-up.
Because I'm good at build. I'm good at build.
Yeah. You can build shit up better than me. I'll just actually do the thing that's getting done.
So I'll do the build up and you do the execution. Is that what you think this is good for? Okay.
That's exactly it.
Okay. I think we should put that to a vote. Who people think would direct a better horror movie, me or you?
Oh no, that's not a comparison thing.
I think it should be.
Because if it would be, mine would just end up being porn, and that.
Yours would just end up being porn. But I don't. That wouldn't make it win. Then it wouldn't be a horror film.
It would. There'd be.
You're gonna do
the ghost that fucks you.
So you're gonna do a porn parody, is what you're saying.
She comes in the dead of night.
She literally comes in the dead of night. Okay, right. On that note.
You like that one, did you?
Yeah, that was funny. I'll give you that. That was funny. So my top 5 were top 5 underrated horror films. In 5th place, we had Creep, the 2004 UK version. In 4th place was The Autopsy of Jane Doe. In 3rd place was Hush. In 2nd place was The Invitation, the 2015 version. And in 1st place was Event Horizon. I think that's 10 pretty solid fucking films. Again, like
I'm not gonna lie. You said mine would be a good afternoon. Yours would be a good afternoon as well.
I
Like,
mean, I'm sitting there saying that the only one of yours that I might have changed was Cabin Fever. If you were to sit down to me and be like, right, I'm coming round, we're having a movie marathon, there's the 10 films we're watching, I wouldn't be upset by any of them. I still like Cabin Fever. So yeah, I think that's a pretty solid fucking list. To everyone who's out there watching, listening, if you've downloaded and listened to this episode, let us know what you think of our 10 movies. Do you think that our 10 movies are underrated? Do you think we've gotten it way off the mark? Do you think our movies are actually pretty well rated, or in fact are they overrated? Let us know. You can subscribe to us on, or you can follow us, sorry, on Twitter at Damn Podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram, Pod of the Damned. Subscribe to us at, email us, sorry, at I fucked that right up. You can email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Pod of the Damned. That's 2 weeks in a row I've fucked that up, and I'm no happy.
I wasn't even doing anything that time.
No, you're just.
I would like to apologise.
You're just
to the listeners.
Fucking sitting there existing. That's enough.
I would like to apologise to the listeners for this being the most boring episode since we agreed on everything.
We've agreed. Like, I'm trying to think back on, like, you know what?
You went so high pitched there.
We've
agreed.
Well, I'm trying to look back. So I'll look back at, like, I've got the leaderboard in front of me, and I'm trying to sort of go through it. I'm trying to go through it and see, where we. And this is so. I'm gonna pick out movies where we have agreed exactly. So we've given like the same scores, right?
Okay.
Lost Boys: The Tribe.
Yeah, but that's obvious as shit.
Yeah, but we both agree with that. Attack of the Herbals, we gave the same score.
Yeah.
We gave the same score.
I've seen the guy that was in that the other night, by the way.
You seen what?
You know the guy that's in Attack of the Herbals, the fucking mental one?
Oh, did you see him kicking a boot?
He was in Toon.
Oh. Well, I mean, it was filmed where we're from, pretty much. They are all from here.
Yeah, well, he now directs movies, which I never knew.
Oh, well, I hope the movies he directs are better than the one he was in. We gave Zombievers the same score.
Aye.
What else have we got here? Critters. We both gave Critters the same score.
Epic movie.
Yeah, it's a fun little film. House of a Thousand Corpses we gave the same score to. What else? It's a small list, I'm not gonna lie, because I'm 2/3 of the way through it already. Eden Lake, we both gave the same score to Eden Lake.
That's a cracking movie.
Yeah,
well.
we both gave the same score to Saw, which probably to be expected. That's a film that's right up our streets. The Descent, Housebound, The Shining, and Shaun of the Dead, and Jaws, and that's it. So 106 films on our leaderboard. That's it. That's the only times we've like been in full agreement. So that's what, 10 movies maybe.
Don't think it was that.
So there you go. It's not something that happens often, and we've just spent an entire fucking episode speaking about 10 different movies that we all agree that we both are in pretty much full agreement on.
And the weird thing was, we didn't overlap. I had a funny feeling you might have had people under the stairs, like third or fourth.
You know what?
When you didn't have it by that point, I was surprised.
I'd completely kind of forgotten about it, and I think had I remembered it, I probably would have had it on my list.
That proves how underrated it is.
So there you go. Shall we go through some honourable mentions?
Well, the Faculty nearly made my list.
Yeah. You've mentioned the Faculty.
I think that's one of the best Body Snatcher remakes ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's we've covered it again. It's another one we've covered on the show before. It's a fun little film. It was one that I watched quite a lot. It was like it's a teen film for me. Yeah. Anything else? Any other films that you want to mention?
What else?
This is why you should take notes, Nico, and write things down.
Well, no, because the ones that you mentioned were basically my honourable mention.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is the annoying thing, so I'm trying to come up with ones off the top of my head that I wasn't going to say.
Okay. I'll go through a couple while you have a think then. So I've put the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003 on here. I think that's an underrated movie. Again, as remakes come, I think that's a pretty fucking good film. I've put The Exorcist 3 on here as well. Because I actually think The Exorcist 3 is a pretty decent film, has some really good fucking jump scares, but anything that comes after The Exorcist is just considered fucking shit. And I think The Exorcist 3 is
Yeah.
actually a pretty decent film. I put The Strangers on here. I did kind of mention that earlier on. I think that's a super underrated like home invasion style movie. Because we've been laughing and joking about it quite a lot lately, I have put Near Dark
Yeah.
in my honorable mentions because I do still think it's a really underrated movie, and I do think it lives in The Lost Boys' shadow somewhat. Um, I think The Lost Boys gets like the love and attention, and Near Dark just doesn't get that as much. And it's still a great fucking film. And I know we've laughed and joked about it in the past number of weeks, Nico, but you fucking still love Near Dark as well. And you know
Oh no, I've never said I didn't.
and it
It's a great movie,
and
but
it really does though. I think it deserves a bit more love than it gets. It suffers from having come out the same.
here's the thing.
No, but
I'll clear air like what you did.
okay. I'm waiting. It looks like I'm going to be waiting for a long time.
Oh. So, sorry, I was waiting for you. Thought you were still talking.
Nope.
So yeah, Near Dark, right? Everyone thinks I hate that because I love Lost Boys. It's not.
I've never said that. I've never said that you hated it.
I'm just saying. I'm clear the air, right? So it's not like you love one, you hate the other. I love that movie too, but I genuinely do think Lost Boys is so much better than it.
Yeah, no, and that's perfectly fine. No, that's perfectly fine. I'm not disagreeing with your right to have that opinion. I disagree with that opinion. I think Near Dark is a better horror film for hardcore horror fans, if that makes sense. Whereas Lost Boys is a film that I think appeals to wider audiences.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
And because of that, I don't think Near Dark gets the love. Like,
for me, it's definitely better.
Okay. Anyways, I've also put Let the Right One In, a movie we talked about not that long ago, because again, I don't think that gets the love and attention it deserves. And then I've also got things like In the Mouth of Madness in there, Lake Mungo, Host from 2020, the COVID movie. I think that's kind of just been forgotten about because COVID's not really COVID's still a thing, but like no one talks about it anymore. So I think those are the ones that have made my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where it came out at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why everyone forgets about that one.
Yeah, it's a movie that's always going to suffer from being a product of the fact that it came out during COVID. It came out over lockdown where we were all stuck inside, and it was very much a movie that played on that. It's a great fucking film, and I still recommend people go rewatch it. And because it's only an hour long, it's tight. It's really, there's no fucking hanging about with it. It's a really good fucking film. Yeah. And as you well know, like on the old show, we had the pleasure of like talking to some of the people who were involved in the film. We had a couple of the actresses that were on the film on the show. We had one of the writers on the show. We talked to the director. Like, it's a really good fucking film, and it's made by like really fucking cool people as well. So, definitely a movie that I think everyone should go out and check. Might go rewatch it myself.
I might do that myself. But there was one that one of my mates was saying. We talked about this movie recently, and I'm like, that it's definitely not in my honorable mentions, but I'll mention it on there.
On their behalf.
And it was Lesbian Vampire Hunter.
Oh, fuck off. No, that's no an underrated film. That's fucking horrendous. Honestly.
I agree with you. That's why I mentioned this. It was fucking awful. It is like one of the worst movies ever.
I never ever want to have James Corden on my screen ever again.
What, not even as that fat cat in fucking Cats?
If he is on my screen, I want him to die a horrible, brutal death, and that includes on his actual night show. Can I broadcast that?
The night show?
Can we broadcast that?
Like, carpool karaoke, then somebody drives into him with a forklift just skewering him.
Yeah. Carpool karaoke, but it's behind the fucking lorry from Final Destination 2.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Should I keep this in? Should I cut this in?
You should definitely keep that in.
Should definitely keep that in, okay.
So, and if you don't, I will mention you hate James Corden every other time.
That's fine. I'll still mention it. I do fucking hate James Corden.
How much do you hate him? Like, what's your ideal way of seeing him die?
Oh, my ideal way of seeing him die.
This is your audition for being a director. Come on in.
I mean, am I going by an established method of death, like a death we've seen in a horror movie before? Because I'd quite like to burn him alive. Like, speaking of Final Destination, like in the tanning bed death scene.
But he wouldn't fit, so you couldn't really do that one.
Right, we're not being fat phobic though, Nico. Come on now.
You've seen my gut. I'm not being fatphobic at all.
Anyways.
We're allowed to say it. You're not.
Anyways. Have you seen my gut lately?
I did actually when you gave me a hug last night.
Exactly. So you can shut the fuck up with that part. Anyways, right.
Fat shaming bastard.
Oh yeah, I'm the fat shamer here. You fat fuck. Anyways, I've had a suggestion that James Corden should just be killed by cats for him being in the show Cats. So death by cat, just mauled to death, like in Let the Right One In. With the cat scene. There you go. See, it could happen. Anyway,
nice tie back there.
Nice.
That was it. See, this is what I mean by the you do the build up, I'll do the actual scene.
Oh, that weren't me. That was Tasha.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
She can produce on it then.
Oh, you can produce on it. Okay. Anyways, right, that is gonna do it for the show this week. I've just realised that the pen that I've been holding is leaked all over my fucking hand.
Oh, brilliant! I've been playing with that for so long. Ah, that is fucking brilliant.
I really like that.
For the viewers that don't see this, Ian has been playing with a pen during this whole podcast, and now he's just realised it's leaked all over his hand. It looks like he's just had his fingerprints done because he's killed somebody, probably James
Corden. It looks like I'm trying to do blackface with my hands. Black hand. That sounds that could be the title of a horror film, right?
You racist.
Listen, I am many things. I am not a racist. Thank you very much. Oh look, this one's fucking leaking as well. Why are all my pens leaking? Oh, anyways, on that note, that is going to do it for this week's show.
Has the heat got to your pen?
The heat has got just to my life now. Thank you very much to everyone for downloading and listening to this episode. Up next on the show, I will get myself to the cinema shortly. I will see it because we're talking all about Maxine next on the podcast, and then after that we return to like our original sort of schedule. It feels like it's actually been like quite a while now since we actually did sort of scheduled movies that we were planning on doing. Because Pearl wasn't in our original schedule, and obviously these top fives haven't been in our original schedule, and this is now the third one of them we're doing. And obviously Maxine wasn't in our original schedule. I think it's Candy's pick when we first come back, and I think it's the 2018 Suspiria remake that's up next for that. And then it's your pick, Nico, and I can't remember. You gave me the list yesterday, and we'll
Train to Busan.
Train to Busan. No, that wasn't what you picked first. Was it?
Was that?
No, I don't think it was.
Pretty sure it was.
I'm pretty sure it fucking wasn't it.
I'm literally bringing it up now.
I'm also bringing it up. Oh, fuck you, it was.
It was.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, I'm right.
Right, okay.
There you go.
And on that note,
Suki of that.
I might, you know what, I might just be fucking off that week, fuck you.
I've got 2 words for you.
You crotch chopping me, dick.
Yeah. Suck it!
On that note, Nico, thank you for joining me once again.
Thank you. Well, we'll have to have a fight about something.
Yeah, there you go. We have
again. You racist bastard.
I would like to just nip this narrative in the bud. I am not a racist. Thank you very much.
Do you know what I'm going to ask you? I'm not going to tell you, but see, like in future, I'm just going to go. Are you still a racist?
Are you still a racist? Is that just what you're going to ask me randomly?
I'm just going to ask you that randomly at some point where you least expect it, when you've forgotten.
I would just like to quickly point out there's no like swastikas, there's no Confederate flags in and around like where we are. Not a racist. Anyways,
yeah, he keeps them hidden.
In my basement.
Keeps them hidden in the basement.
Yeah, very funny.
I just don't know why there's chains on the wall. What's that about?
Oh, they're just my sex toys.
Oh, okay, that's fair
Okay,
enough.
there we go. Anyways, until next week on the Pod of the Damned, just remember, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you
And
don't.
you're damned if you don't.